A lot of people ask us questions about how to work with the digestive system and different digestive problems. So we thought that we would do one of these live stream sessions to go over some of the things that we can do naturally with the body to strengthen the digestion and to heal different digestive problems. You can use them for yourself right away, and if you're a practitioner, I think you'll find some of these ideas really useful for recommending to your clients. I've been doing it for years, and I find out that it's little things done on a regular basis that really make a big difference. You know, our goal is to get the body to heal itself, to activate and stimulate the body's natural power. Now, things that happen over the lifetime suppress that power on a lot of levels. Chemical level, the stress level, that's emotional, also patterns in our thinking can all suppress the natural healing power that our body has to address the different problems that we're concerned with. So small input, but on a regular basis, and so oftentimes, as you'll see, very simple things that we can do will make a difference. Now, you may not notice a difference tomorrow or the next day, although you may, but a lot of times we notice that it takes 2 or 3 weeks, and to really bring it into full realization usually takes about 2 to 3 months. But again, they're simple and small things to do, but to be mindful of. We'll start from the beginning, and I wanted to talk about saliva because it's a very powerful substance in the body. The body really gives a lot of its chemistry and chi to make saliva. And in the Taoist practice, they recognize that the saliva has unique properties and powerful properties. So the one thing I wanted to start with is showing how can you activate the saliva and strengthen it. It's like a muscle. And again, through various experiences that we have, things that happen to us during the lifetime, lifestyles, way of life, that muscle gets suppressed. The saliva also carries chi, or ki, into the cells. It helps energy of various forms transverse the cellular membrane. So it brings energy into the cell. This was an idea that the Taoists had. And also, saliva is made up of the various enzymes that digest our food. So the first thing is, and we'll do a couple of things related to this, but just move the tongue and listen. You'll hear the sound of the saliva sloshing around in your mouth, and that's a good thing. And as your mouth gets watery, that encourages all the glands that are secreting digestive enzymes to secrete and mix with the saliva. So one simple way to do this is just to slosh your saliva around in the mouth, and it'll kind of give you this, your mouth is watering sensation. And to stimulate that further, we can circulate the tongue. Now, this will look a little strange, but I'm willing to do it, and here we go. Again, you'll notice that brings the fluid more actively into the mouth. Slosh it around. This brings power to it. And then swallow it, and you can make that gulping sound. The Taoists also recognize that you can mix sunlight with saliva. And just by sitting in the sun and drawing the energy of the sun while you do that exercise brings that sun energy through the body and into the cells. Now, for some people that might be a more abstract or remote idea, but in Taoism and in energy practices, that's very real. We bring that solar energy into the saliva, and this helps to stimulate a capability that we have that's just in its budding stage in the human body, and that is human photosynthesis. So we know that plants change sunlight into substance within the plant, the complex carbohydrates. And then when we eat those plants, then the reverse takes place where we break that down in our body at the solar plexus. And I think it's clearly interesting that we call this area of the body solar plexus. And we either take the substance that we can use from the food, or that energy is utilized for whatever we need energy for in the body. But also, if we have extra energy, the body will then, at the solar plexus, change energy into matter and store it in the liver. Now that's scientifically understood, and that material is called glycogen. Now we hold that in the liver, and when we exert ourselves and we need energy, the body will convert that back into energy again. Now I think it's an interesting thing to consider, and it was somewhat known in the ancient times, during the time when the Taoists developed their very powerful and unique systems of living and healing, that the body has the capability to break down matter, change it into energy, and then change energy into matter, and then matter back into energy. So we can see that we have this apparatus to perform human photosynthesis and actually bypass the function of the plant. Now there are reports of people that are doing practices and living largely, maybe not totally, but largely from direct taking in of the sunlight and converting that into whatever they need into the body. Carbohydrate and some mineral can change into protein, or to use it for energy. Now, that is something that I'm just talking about because it just came to me in this moment. I think it's a very interesting idea and a powerful idea for people that want to develop themselves and to grow their awareness and consciousness of mind and body. Now, another thing that happens that we should be aware of in the digestive process, that the saliva and the enzymes is a potent substance. But if we drink any kind of liquid before our meal, it will dilute that substance and make it less potent. So we recommend that people don't drink a half hour before they eat. Now, I wouldn't become fanatical about it. In some social situations, maybe it's difficult to do, but on a daily basis, in your life routine, avoid drinking a half hour before eating. Then, don't drink during your meal. And sometimes I'm, really amazed how people just drink large volumes of fluid while they're eating, and then later on when you talk to them, they complain about stomach problem, digestive problem, and they don't realize that there's this correlation between the poor digestion, the upset stomach and bowels, and the fact that they diluted their digestive enzymes. The other thing is, wait a half hour to an hour after the meal to drink. I want to emphasize again, let's not become fanatical about it. If you're in a social situation, do it, because that's how you integrate yourself. Of course, unless you're hanging out with a bunch of yogis, then it will probably be more acceptable. So, in your day-to-day routine, this is something that you can do that automatically starts to improve the digestive function. Now, I should stop and say that the quality of food is very important, and the balance of food also very important. We can study nutritional concepts and balance by different nutritional factors, carbohydrates, proteins, many things like that. Very simple to do is to balance by color. So when you have a meal, is it all one color, or does it have multiple colors? And the various colors of the color spectrum show that there's a variety of different qualities to the food that will complement each other, especially if it's good quality whole foods, organic foods. Now that concept you can go into much deeper, and I'm not saying that to balance meal by nutritional factors is a bad thing. I'm just saying really quickly, look at your plate. If all the dishes are in small little pieces, they all kind of have the same energy. But if they have different look to them, color and texture, then this is showing that there's a balance factor just from the level of common sense. So that's something that you can work with. All right, so there's some things about from the beginning of the digestive process. Activate your saliva for body energy. Don't drink before the meals so that you can have full potency of your saliva and digestive enzymes. And then chew your food very well. Now this is something that's difficult if you're talking with people and you're in a social situation. But if you're having digestive problems, initially, in the first period, take some time to eat alone. And just as if you're doing an exercise, aerobic exercise, walking exercise, strength exercise, exercise chewing. Because when you chew, you break down the food in the mouth, the digestive enzymes are working on it in the mouth, and so by the time you swallow, the food should be liquefied, but the digestion of that food has already begun. If we're just a few chews and swallow, there's vital aspects of the digestive process that have not happened properly. So we may need to take some time to sit alone and eat, or eat quietly with a partner that understands, and really concentrate on chewing, breaking down that food, and noticing how that changes the feeling when the food goes in the stomach as it disperses through the intestinal tract. 2 tips then. Don't drink before eating, half hour after eating. Don't drink during eating. And chew your food very well and take advantage of the full potency of the digestive enzymes and saliva on all these different levels. And when you go off the track and you're in a social situation, drinking, eating, not paying attention, I think after a while you're going to notice the difference. That after you do this more drinking and eating and mixing a lot of different things together, that the next day or even within hours you're kind of sluggish and it takes time to recover from that. But when you do it in this more mindful way, eating energizes the body. It gives the body a really good feeling, and you'll start to really see that difference. All right, so then food is coming down into the upper digestive, or the middle organ area, or the upper digestive system. And the control center is the solar plexus. That's the place where we have a nerve plexus, and we have all the organs related to breaking that food down into its basic substances. And as I mentioned before, converting those substances into energy, and from there the liver and the gallbladder distribute, store, plan out the use of that energy. So we can think about what we're doing here at the solar plexus to bring energy to that area. Now already, the whole idea of saliva is one, to activate and stimulate solar plexus. But what we can do after a meal to encourage digestion and this breaking down of this complex substances to more simple substances is a simple sound that the Taoists use to activate the digestion and all those processes I've been talking about. And you just take your fingers like this, put into the solar plexus, breathe in, and you make what's called a subvocal tone. Now, vocally it would be who, but subvocally would be whoo. And so you breathe in and I'll do 3 times. You breathe in. And you can do that multiple times, 5, 10, 15 times. And I find that that works particularly well when you eat and you feel unsettled in this area. So try that out. And the other thing is, because this whole area really is a place that can get clogged easily, the middle organs get clogged with excesses and toxins in the body. We can work on that and help discharge those toxins or prevent them from building up. But just a simple rubbing. And as you rub, go deeper in, and you may feel a little discomfort there. But rub around the solar plexus to bring the focus of the body, or as we know, the key of the body, to that location. Whatever point we bring our awareness to, the key goes there. Key follows intention or thought. So we concentrate solar plexus. If you want to visualize the solar plexus nerve system, the organs, that can be another dimension that's very helpful. But just rubbing. Now, a lot of people know that there's an energy center here, or chakra. Again, solar plexus chakra, involved with our energy system. Now, this is something that you can do before and after eating. And you can do this right when you sit down at the table. Afterwards, if you're relaxing, doing some work, watching something, you can do that. And what I think is very helpful, once you bring your attention there, and the rubbing and pressing helps to do that, brings the energy of the mind, the body, converging into the center. What you'll notice, and this is full activation of the energy here, the chakra or energy center, and the nerve plexus, solar plexus, and organs, is that you keep your mind in that place, and when you start to feel a tingling sensation, and at first it should be more localized, you'll feel a tingling there, or a numbing sensation. When you feel the numb and tingling, this means the full merging of the mind energy or the intentional energy with that energy center. And that will amplify the function of that center. It'll bring it to another level. Now, since the diaphragm is here, the respiratory diaphragm, a lot of times as soon as you get that numb and tingling, you're going to notice easier breathing. It's almost 100% of the time for me, when I feel that numb and tingling in the solar plexus, I have release and ease of breathing. Once you get release and ease of breathing, this leads to a number of other things that happen. Parasympathetic nervous system is also activated by that. Now, I should stop right there just briefly and say that the parasympathetic nervous system is the system of the body that gets activated and then produces the discharge of these enzymes that I'm talking about in the mouth, and then produces all of the digestive discharges and functions of the whole digestive tract. So I didn't mention this when I was talking about the saliva production, but while you're doing that, these secretions are now starting parasympathetic reaction. Parasympathetic nerve action goes to the digestive tract and starts to discharge all of the enzymes. The peristalsis is increased, the absorption in the small intestine, ultimately elimination, all triggered by parasympathetic. So while doing the connection between mind and solar plexus, as soon as you get the numb and tingling, I think you're going to notice full deep breathing. And full deep breathing is always triggering parasympathetic nerve reaction in the body. Parasympathetic not only activates all phases of digestion, but it's activating the immune system, the regeneration of the body, all phases of regeneration. And the larger term, or the simple layman's term that we might use for parasympathetic innervation, is relaxation. They're actually the same thing at the same time. So parasympathetic processes create relaxation. Relaxation, parasympathetic processes. So again, for people that are just coming in on this live stream, we're working with simple techniques that help to activate the digestive tract for strengthening and healing. A lot of researchers in Eastern and Western feel that disease starts from improper function of the digestive tract, not breaking down properly, not absorbing properly, and definitely poor elimination, which then causes toxins to form in the body, back up into the body, and then in a way, low level, building to medium level, it's actually poisoning the body. So the digestive system for many people is the root of well-being. Now I would say, of course, it's all the systems, but some systems of healing and researchers have really focused on the digestive system as being the core of well-being. So if you think, we'd encourage you that if these kind of ideas are valuable for you, just share them with your friends. And the more people that know about it, clearly, the healthier our environment becomes, and our thinking becomes, and our social consciousness becomes. And as we know from looking around right now, higher social consciousness, a well-being of thought, a well-being of relationship, it's a good idea. It's needed, greatly needed. So share it with friends, and always be free to contact us, to ask questions, to let us know what you're thinking as well. And you can just type those questions in right now while we're doing the live stream, because we're able to see those questions, and we'll work to respond to them. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about is something called Doheny. Now, a lot of people know about that. It's like a self-stimulation of energy. It's an exercise that's originally from Japan. There's a lot of ideas in China and other Asian countries, and also Western countries, how a person can stimulate their own chi. We did a Doheny session some months ago, and that's available on our website, and it's also available on our Facebook videos, so you can look that up. And what I did at that time was Doheny for the digestive system, for the abdomen, and the Hara, as it's called in the Shiatsu practice, in the martial arts practice, Hara. But I'd like to show you another variation of that actually goes much deeper. And it's a little bit difficult to show it, so I'm going to do my best. we're going to use gravity to intensify the stimulation. So I'm going to go in to the Hara like this. And I find that if you go about this far out from the center, and you go down this line, there you have the beginning of the digestive, beginning of the intestinal tract there. The duodenum. And in this area is where secretions of the pancreas and gallbladder are received to break down certain elements of food content, particularly oils and fats.
So you're to the right side of the navel?
I'm at the right side of the navel. I'm going to start right under the rib cage. And as you get down to the navel area, oftentimes you're going to feel hardness there. And clearly that hardness is a sign of some stagnation, blockage. And a lot of times that part's going to be painful. Now I'm just giving a preliminary. I want you to know where I'm going to go, because actually I'm going to lie on my stomach and do this. And you're not going to be able to see that much, but I'll just show you how I do it. And so I'm doing it upright in this moment to show you where my hands will be. And I'll go all the way down to the pubic bone. I go in, and then I'll go back and forth. I'll do circular, up and down, whatever it is that feels right. And a lot of times when you go in, yesterday's meal, the meal from 2 days ago, last week's party, it feels like it's still in there. And it can be painful. So you want to go in, you don't want to create too much pain, but you want to meet that uncomfortable sensation and begin working right where you meet that. And then as it starts to relax and open, you can go deeper and deeper. If you do that thoroughly 1 or 2 times, you'll notice that it gets less sensitive, less painful. Okay, so one line about that far from the center, and then I'll go to the other side. I'll go in and hold, and particularly work at the places that do feel stuck, painful, uncomfortable. Now the next thing that I do, starting on this side, I go to the pubic bone area and above. And what happens over time for a lot of people from buildup in the intestinal tract? And it's said to be that there are 10, 15 pounds sometimes of undigested matter stuck in the intestines. And what happens is that force and bloating causes the intestines to drop in the abdomen. And so they drop into a space where they shouldn't be, and this creates even more blockage and stagnation. So what I like to do is to go in, and I'll feel those painful areas, and then I'll go in as deep as I can. I'll do the up and down, back and forth, circular massaging, and I take my time. And then I'll lift. So I'm going in and down under the pubic bone, and then lifting, pulling upward like this. Now I'm going to do this in the laying down prone position. So again, it's hard to see, but when you do this, you'll also notice how it's easier to get down in there and to feel the sensation of pulling up. So you're pulling up the intestines, and you're using the muscle system, the fascial system to help out, to pull it upward. And then I'll just go over and work my way around this whole lower area. Maybe you could give me the spine just for a second. All right, so it's kind of like a bowl, and I'm going in and under at each part, and also helping to pull back up the lower bowel. And what I was saying before, there over time is a collapsing that takes place, and that causes further clogging and interference with not only digestion and elimination, but also because the whole abdomen is a very important place for circulation, that clogging blocks the circulatory system. So nutrients and oxygen going to organs, going down into the lower part of the body, legs and feet, to complete the whole circulation process. So it's really important to break up this clogging and this congestion in the abdomen area. And I think that this technique is really very useful. Again, you go in right above the pubic bone and then down and find those painful spots and work with them, but then pull up. So I'm doing this with my hands. First working and then pulling up. And another thing is afterwards, I think you'll find that you feel much more lighter on your feet, because when the intestines, the digestive system is blocked and congested, you feel heavy, you feel sluggish when you move your body. And when the digestion's working well, you feel much more light. And when you're light, it's also more pleasurable to move your body. When you feel heavy and congested, you don't want to move. So that direction creates more stagnation, whereas when you have this lighter, more pleasure to work with your body, moving, walking, running, exercising, whatever it is you're doing, that creates the other direction, which is more well-being, more lightness, and so you can see the difference. Okay, so one line down the right side, particularly looking for those painful sore areas, working right where you meet the soreness, and then going deeper. These hard areas, work on those hard areas gently at first, and then you'll feel those hard areas give way. And do that about the same distance out on the left side. You'll notice, particularly around the navel, that's where you get a lot of this hardening feeling. And then I'm going to go to the right side of the abdomen, down under the pubic bone, working with the sore spots and lifting. So it might be difficult to see, but I'm going to do it anyway. And it might take 2 or 3 times to get what I'm talking about, but it's so worth it. So anyway, persevere with this. And
Saul, this is the first time you've ever taught this type of self-Hara treatment, right? You've never done this in a class.
I've tried, but again, it's the visual that makes it difficult, and this is the most detailed because I'm just realizing more and more how valuable it is. So I'm really trying to take the time to go over each detail, and I think people get a lot out of it if they just work with it for a few weeks. The after effect is really interesting, but I'll talk about that in a little while. So, hopefully the camera can catch it. This is your position, and you just take your fingers onto that first line I talked about. Now, your weight and gravity is going to bring the body down into the fingers, and this is one of the reasons that this is more penetrating than the sitting up Doheny. And you can just rock your body back and forth, or move your fingers, or both. And then I'm going to go down, and I'm working my way from the place under the rib cage down to the pubic bone. Don't avoid those painful places, just approach them gently at first. A lot of times when you get to those painful areas and you work with them, you're going to feel a sensation of something spreading as that point opens. Sometimes it can just be a softening sensation, but sometimes there's kind of an electric current or even the feeling of body fluid moving. And work your way down. Okay, then I'm going to go up on the other side, under the rib cage. I'm on the left side now. I think a lot of you that do Doheny are going to notice that this is a lot more penetrating just from the weight of your body coming down on your fingertips. Now I'm rocking my body, but I'm also moving my fingers back and forth.
Can people do this even if they're having digestive problems, like some pain, or maybe they have inflammation?
I'll talk about that in a minute. Let me have that question when I get back up. It's kind of hard to get into too much detail in this position. But okay, there's the left side, and the amount of time you spend is really due to what you find there. And what I'm saying is painful sore spots and hard areas are the ones where you want to spend more time. So now I'm going to go over to the right side of the abdomen, right over the pubic bone. I'm going to lower my weight down and then do the same process. And then I'm going to do this pulling up, lowering my fingertips, angling them downward, grasping the mass there, and then pulling up. Now you're going to feel that locally, but you also might feel that sensation moving in a different area of the intestinal tract. You might feel the left side responding to that, or the center responding. And just work your way across. I just had a really nice breathing release while I'm doing this. Anytime you get those deep breaths, that's parasympathetic response. And especially when I'm getting over to the center left and you're pulling up, you can feel that sensation in the lower bowel. And you move all the way over. I'm actually on the right and the left, starting close to the ASIS. I'll show you that on the spine in a minute. Don't forget to pull up, release, pull up, and counter the collapsing effect that takes place over a lifetime for many people. It creates more room, and when we have more room in our abdomen, it allows all the organs and functions to work a lot better. This is the ASIS, so you're working really from here, and it's like a bowl. And similar to what we did with the solar plexus, I think it's really good afterwards to sit. Notice how your body feels. First in the local area where you work, and then the whole body. And maybe not now, but at some point you start noticing the feeling of your body at the local area and then outward. You're going to feel waves of sensation. And I'll explain those in a little while because they are very valuable in healing the whole body, really. But we're concentrating on digestion right now. Those waves, when you feel them moving from the local area we worked on, whether it be solar plexus, intestines, or any other area in the body, those waves are also, again, connected to parasympathetic reaction and beyond, because it's energetic. It means energy flow. Because energy does not just flow in a steady stream. It flows in pulsing waves through the body. And when you feel that, this is a very pleasurable sensation. So you want to take the time not only to feel it, but to enjoy it. It's very, very deeply satisfying sensation. You'll notice the breathing expanding. Now, we had a question while I was laying down. You always have to use common sense for anything. So if you have like inflammation, you don't want to really do deep stimulation, especially in the area of the inflammation. Or just where you have like really some kind of chronic discomfort. But all these things can be done at least on the surface level. And even though they don't have the initial impact of going deep, slowly it will help and relieve discomfort and to help to move blockage and stagnation through the system. You know, a lot of these problems, and right now we're concentrating on digestion, all these digestive maladies are related to buildup of toxin, unneeded matter in the digestive tract, and imbalance of acid alkaline, and so on. So my approach, which clearly is not the only approach, because I refer people to other practitioners when I think they need something more specific and detailed. But I personally like to work with the global aspect of the body. How can we regenerate the body's own healing power? So I may have some tips for constipation, diarrhea. What are some of the other ones? Crohn's disease.
Irritable bowel syndrome.
Irritable bowel and the separating of the bowel lining, diverticulitis, these kind of things. But underneath that is the simple balance, acid-alkaline, other important balances that are there, and the power, the overall power of the body, not only to heal itself, but to keep itself well. And the body has that program, but a lot of times that program has been interfered with. It's been shut down, it's been repressed. So this approach is just to try to bring it all back online. There's a lot of more detailed, specific things that you can do with food combinations, with special herbs, with tinctures that are all very valuable. But I think that you have to also address the underlying global aspect of what keeps the body well. The body has its own monitoring system, its own regulating system, and if we can get that back into a better functioning, then everything's going to start to feel better. And those other things that we're doing, dietary practices, herbs, tinctures, receiving treatments for sure are very important. Those things are going to work much better when the underlying system is also the deep root of the body is doing its job better. That deep root, you could say, is intestinal, but you could also say it's the function of the balancing, healing power of the system. And also very closely integrated with that balancing part of the body is this parasympathetic nervous system. So when you review any of the things we're talking about today, notice where I've talked about the parasympathetic nervous system, things you can do to activate it, and focus on that and notice that. Are there questions?
I have another question. This is from Petra in England. I have a question about colonics. She's just wondering what your thoughts are on it. She's had 2 clients recently her feeling is that colonics seem to drain or deplete the large intestine energy almost to the point that in one person they had to continue with the colonics just to keep their digestion working. The large intestine meridian seemed to feel deadened, and the solar plexus also really reacted after the colonic.
I think with colonics we have to also take the the balanced approach. I wouldn't say that they're bad. Don't do them. Especially if a person is really highly toxic, which we can tell by skin tone. A lot of oily skin, pimples are showing that the blood is having too much unwanted material. The blood is not clear, it's toxic. Outbreaks like that, kind of sluggish tiredness feeling, also buildup of toxins in the body. So, as a clearing, I think it's okay. I really feel like colonics would be better if they would just clear out the lower part of the bowel. But that's just my opinion. And I know that colonic therapists would have many good reasons why you should do them. I have heard that when the colonics go through the digestive system, they're also clearing out some very valuable bacteria and digestive agents, so it can weaken that part of our digestive system. As a long-term, really regular part, I don't really recommend them. I think that when you're doing the work from the other side, what's going in, cleaner food, whole grains, good quality vegetables, and that's an investment. That's how you can look at it. And you get such a good return on that. But I think for our mentality in this day and age, we want the so-called immediate effect. We want it tomorrow, over the weekend, and we just want to get on with many aspects of our lifestyle that cause the problem in the first place. And we have to make that connection, that what we're doing with our eating and lifestyle are creating the problems that we're experiencing. So I think I've really covered it pretty well at the beginning of this session, that how we eat. And I don't know if I mentioned it, I think I did, but when we eat, besides chewing well, not drinking before, really bringing our saliva to the food, the atmosphere that we eat in. If we're rushing, this is going to dampen the parasympathetic. If we're involved in something chaotic, if we're involved in something that's contentious, stressful, stress dampens the parasympathetic nervous system. And I see people that are driving the car and eating. So this driving a car and the attention is flight and fight. That's dampening parasympathetic. So what we do on this side of the equation, clearly colonics are on the other side of the equation, is very powerful. Again, I'm not against them. I think there's a place for it, but we can get a lot more benefit from being mindful of small details, what we're doing with what's going into the body. And I think that that clearly, over time, will determine the health of what's coming out. Now, I mean also in terms of our thoughts and our speech, and how we view the world around us. Natural healing comes in waves. 10 days, the blood plasma regenerates. So we have one aspect of change in 10 days. It takes 3 months for the blood to really change and to become fully influenced by what we're taking in and how we're taking it in. And I find that it takes 9 months, year and a half, 2.5 years for this process to really take hold, not only in our physical body, but in our emotional sense, which we can work on in different ways, in a supplementary way, and our thinking. We need to stop and evaluate our thoughts sometimes to see how they may be creating stress and contention, or how they may be creating a better flow in life, a healthier feeling, because our thoughts, we start to notice, impact the body. And so we want to take a review sometimes of that, and they'll all be working together. So that's how I look at the whole question of colonics. We can use them, but if we're mindful of these smaller things in a lifestyle, healthier lifestyle, more mindful lifestyle, then we're going to get, I think, a much greater return on our investment. Is there any other questions? Okay.
No, just
So I know a lot of people do physical exercise. Are we running too long now? You think?
it's been an hour.
Oh, because I'm just on the home stretch here.
We can do more tomorrow.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I had like. Do you think we should just? Yeah. Well, then I'll say one last thing about the parasympathetic effect, and I think that we've done a number of things where we noticed that. Well, in the future, there's actually I'm gonna do one more thing, because I want to say. You think I should wait until another time? Okay. This is all very impromptu. It's very relaxed. You know, we're not expecting to win an award for best podcast or anything. But also, Lynn and I just finished making a course for treatment of the digestive system. So for practitioners that have clients with digestive maladies, step-by-step ways to work through that with shiatsu-oriented type techniques. Although I think massage therapists could use these techniques very well, any body worker. And good ideas of how to go through the digestive system, and not to cure anything, but to bring the power back, the self-healing aspect of the body back online. So, we've done that, and since we're thinking very digestively these days, we wanted to do this session for digestive ideas. Have a lot more, and so maybe sometime in the near future we'll do part 2 of this session, because it would probably be another hour to go through, and a couple of really good things that we're not going to get to today.
So people can make sure to click yes on their notifications, so that if we do more live stream, you get notified about it. You can also make sure to like the Facebook page, and that'll also help you get our posts. You can sign up to the email list on the right upper side of our Facebook page to make sure you get ongoing resources that we put out, articles, videos, courses. That's the blue button at the top of the Facebook page. It says sign up. So if you're not on our mailing list and you want to be, you can do that there. The course will be open. The new online course will be open for enrollment on Monday. The new course on Hara, digestive treatment.
All right. Well, thanks to everybody that took part in this, and hope to see everybody soon.
And make sure if you didn't see it from the beginning, this will be available afterwards on the Facebook page, so you can hit play and go back and see the beginning of, because Saul started out with some useful tips right from the beginning.
Okay, so nice to see everybody. Thanks for tuning in.